Hi, girl.
Hey, girl.
Girl, what are we talking about today?
All right,
but honestly, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about, this episode is called Queen of the County.
Queen of the County.
Season 23, episode 43. Joshy Manx is coming in hot.
It lurks here on this storied family estate, a mystery as tangled and gnarled as the trees that reach for the sky.
I think she's dead.
It eats at me. I can't sleep most of the time.
A crime like a storm. Everyone could see it coming.
Everybody in the town has their suspicions.
She was missing, the matriarch with a grip on her powerful family's fortune. Did someone have a powerful motive to do her harm?
I saw bruises on Bonnie's arms, like somebody had grabbed her.
She looked at him and said, "You tried to kill me."
Who was behind this? A search in the dark.
Right there. It's all right. Whoa.
A secret in the family and a jailhouse interview to make your jaw drop.
You said you wished she were dead, and then later she became dead.
This is a twisted tale deep in the heart of Texas.
People who are desperate will do desperate things.
Joshy Manx is coming in hot. You're absolutely right.
He goes, in this country, we've always loved power and money and the struggle to get our hands on both. Now, Josh Mankiewicz is going to spend the entire episode trying to convince himself that this is exactly like the television show Dallas.
Except with less glitz and less glamour.
Yeah, and also, for example, it does not take place in Dallas. We're in San Saba, Texas, but he keeps referencing Dallas.
That's true.
And it's like, Josh,
it's not Dallas.
Anything you need to do to get through it. I hear
couldn't agree more. Josh is a little loosey-goosey in this one, too. Like,
he can't really believe it.
I know. But you know what, Josh? It's the nature of the beast in your line of work. A lot of these stories are outlandish.
Shame, you know? So, we're in San Saba, Texas, and we're talking about the Harkey family, and they learned how to make money grow on trees. Joshy loved. Because it's true.
It is true. They're pecan farmers.
We're doing pecan, right?
Well,
pecan?
I was saying pecan.
I don't know.
Okay, great.
This is a thing.
I know.
But everyone here said pecan.
All right, we'll go with pecan, but I have questions about this. Do people still eat these? Because the pecans are the nuts I work around in the bowl of mixed nuts at Thanksgiving. I'm really only there for the walnuts.
I can't remember a time I've ever had use for a pecan. No. But these people
like
made their
pecan
fortune.
Pie, I guess. Yeah.
But these people have made their fortune from it. So I'm sure the pie and like jam, perhaps.
Pecan jam?
Is there? I don't know.
I don't think so.
If you could put it in a pie, can't you make it a jam?
I guess.
Strawberry pie, strawberry jam.
Pecan cake?
Cherry pie, yeah.
I guess. Well, we learned about Bonnie Harkey. She's the matriarch of the family. She controls the family fortune.
Well, I always say she was queen of the county because she really was a big fish in a small pond.
And by local standards, very wealthy.
By local standards, sure.
They were so prominent, in fact, that the Harkey name is carved on monuments, painted on road signs in San Saba.
The Harkey name is on all these like monuments, these old monuments in Texas, and I'm like, what kind of monuments?
That's a very fair question.
Like monuments that we're arguing over today? I don't know.
We see some, and it's mostly like a name on a wall of a building.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
What kind of building?
Good question.
Do you know what I mean?
No, this is a fair question. But Teresa, the niece, is the one who tells us they always called Bonnie the queen of the county. The queen of the county. I made up that song. Before we started recording, fam, I made that up, and it's sticking.
Yeah,
it's stuck.
Fuck, it's here forever now. I can't
queen
find it.
Queen of the county. Queen of the county.
Ooh! Did we just like land on that? Did something just happen?
They say the family was very wealthy by local standards.
Yeah, and they came to Texas in the 1850s, these two brothers, and they have like a proud family history.
It's pretty cool. Like the brothers were scouts. They were kind of like Lewis and Clark a little bit.
Sure.
Come on, private school. You know who they are.
I had ADHD. I didn't retain a single fucking thing. I know nothing.
Well, Lewis and Clark were explorers.
Yes, I'm glad I knew.
Like these guys, and they came upon this area of Texas.
Dwight Harkey says all the Harkeys descended from two brothers who came to the hill country in the 1850s.
Well, there was two boys that came, and they were cavalry scouts. And they found this country, and nobody lived here.
They took this land and turned it into a pecan farm, and they all got rich.
They all got rich. So Bonnie Harkey is 85 years old. You could set her watch to her going to church.
Correct.
Everyone knew her. And I'm like, well, yeah, she was the rich old lady who had been there for almost 100 years. I'm sure everyone knows who Bonnie is.
And she seems just like lovely. Everyone loved her. We meet Reverend Sam Crosby, and he's just like, everyone knew her. Everyone loved her. She's lived in this, they kind of describe this family as like town royalty.
Right. So
because she's queen of the county, queen of the county.
What are we doing?
I don't know.
Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
What exactly are we doing?
I don't know.
Just like in general.
Just like,
do you know what I'm asking?
Now I understand the question. It is a fair question. I don't know what we're doing.
Great, because I don't either. And if you knew and I didn't, I'd be concerned.
No,
but if
we
both don't
wandering.
know.
We've been wandering around lost together for almost 7 years now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Great.
Holding hands, jumping right off that cliff.
And we'll then there's another cliff, and then we just jump right off that one. Great.
So we're told that trouble began a few hours after church out at the Harkey place. It's 5:30 p.m. We hear this 911 call, and we never get enough information about this. It's a 11-year-old boy saying, I found my mother on the floor, and I think she's dead. The most heartbreaking words I've ever heard. This 11-year-old kid is trying to keep it together. He says, I'm at the Harkey residence. And we learn that this 11-year-old kid's mother was Karen Johnson, who was Bonnie, the lady, the queen of the county, her caretaker.
Yeah.
And the boy is like, he's remarkably composed to the point that I was like, oh God, are we looking at this kid for having done this?
Oh,
No,
God,
we
no.
absolutely aren't. But he says, I'm just really worried and I can't find Bonnie anywhere.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Now we learn that all the locals listen to the police scanner.
Okay, this is really true.
Religiously.
No, they all have it turned onto the police scanner, and they listen to it for entertainment.
But
I guess.
then they call the cops to get the tea.
I know.
So, we hear it all.
Is there somebody loose that I should be?
Oh, no.
Okay, I just was wondering. Yeah. There's all something up there near Miss Harkey's
What's
place.
going on over at Old Harkley's place?
I just heard it on the scanner. Is there a madman on the 911 dispatcher is like,
They're like,
no,
John, not again. All right, good night, honey. All right, goodbye.
Mary Beth? Okay, say good night. Yes.
So, they're like, what's going on over at the Harkey place? I'm like, you're just listening to... Okay, great.
I know.
This is not the end of the police scanner.
It is absolutely just the beginning.
So John Wilkerson was the sheriff's deputy in 2012, and he's the first one on the scene. And he's like, there are no real signs of a struggle, but there kind of definitely were.
Because Karen Johnson's body is laying face down in the doorway, which to me is just like, did somebody summon her to the door? The thing that makes me crazy is we never learn what happens to her son.
I know.
They never mention her 11-year-old son ever again.
I know.
Like, did anybody come and take him? Did he go to live with his dad? Did he go into the foster care system? I really will not stop thinking about this poor kid who found his mother's dead body.
Yeah.
But we also learn on Karen's body, so we're told there's no sign of a struggle, but she did have a broken fingernail.
So there are signs of a struggle.
So there's signs of a struggle.
And also, Bonnie isn't there. Like, Bonnie, remember, she's 85 years old. She has dementia. She's in bad health. She needs a caretaker. Her caretaker is here. Her caretaker is dead, and Bonnie is nowhere to be found. This is a dangerous situation.
And so they're thinking that maybe Bonnie is just out roaming the pecan orchard. Now, for the next 15 minutes of this 36-minute episode, they talk about Bonnie missing as though she just wandered away.
Right.
And I'm like, we have a dead woman.
Right.
Somebody was killed.
Right.
Bonnie she was kidnapped.
Yeah.
She didn't just wander away.
And this isn't something, my grandmother had dementia, so it's not like something, she has dementia, maybe she just wandered. No. Like, sure, that maybe could happen, but there's also a dead body here. Her caretaker has been killed, so there's a bigger part of the story.
They talk about, it's like two separate stories. It's like, the rich lady is missing, and it just, and by the way, there's a dead body in her house.
Karen Johnson's not an afterthought. She's a real person.
I keep saying, why aren't we getting any more information on the murder of Karen Johnson?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So, news is traveling through the family. Bruce Harkey is Bonnie's stepson. He's calling the cops. These people have a direct line to the police.
I know. Because they're all listening to the
updates.
police scanner. So they're saying the news is traveling because the entire town's been listening to the police scanner.
Right.
Everybody knows Bonnie's missing, not from the news, but from the police scanner.
Right. And Teresa, the niece, is like, something's up.
She says she knew right away her aunt's disappearance was connected to the decades-long battle over the remains of the Harkey fortune.
Not home invasion.
No, her family.
There's been family drama for decades. It's all about money. Joshy's back to trying to make it all like Dallas.
I know.
And he's like, and I'm just sitting here, I'm like, Josh, I love you, Josh. I'm just saying, but hateful, selfish families exist all over the world on and off television.
Yes.
So, come on.
I know. And that's when they're saying, no, this wasn't a home invasion. This was definitely family drama.
And to be fair to Joshy, This is like a wild group of people, so you can have it. You can try to make the connection to the show Dallas.
Because we come out of the ad break and Joshy Manx is going, if the Harkeys of San Saba were ever made into a television drama, it would be chock full of character actors. There'd be a gentleman farmer, picture goes by. A pair of impatient heirs in waiting, pictures go by.
Yeah.
A ne'er-do-well grandson, his enabling girlfriend, picture.
Yeah.
And the rock of the family would be a white-haired matriarch named Bonnie Harkey.
Like, he's not right. It does have the makings, but like, Josh, you love Dallas, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's his
Josh
favorite
knows
show.
where, what
Yeah.
was it, Who Shot JR?
Yes.
That was the thing.
Mhm.
Like, Josh remembers exactly where he was when he found out Who Shot JR.
Well, I think there was like a bit of controversy about that because
Is there? I don't know who shot
the whole
JR.
thing ended up being a dream at the beginning of the next season or something.
What? I thought there was some other famous show that was a dream. Dallas was all a dream?
Dallas was a dream, but then I think Newhart was also a dream. These are, by the way,
weren't watching Dallas, were you?
No. These are both shows that are before my time.
Yeah.
But like the
But it's
Patrick
like-
Duffy in the shower moment is like a Ryan Phillippe ass shot.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
all the gays know
I
it.
missed that
Yeah, of
part.
course. The look of pitied confusion
No,
on
I
your
was
face.
just like, you're speaking
What?
a different language. But it's one of those things where like MASH was before my time, but I know MASH. Everyone watched the MASH
Well, that
finale.
tracks,
You know,
yeah.
like
I mean, like
there's
your
that.
dad must have watched MASH all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
He,
Okay.
he
That makes-
remembers where he was
Of
during the
course,
MASH
of course.
finale, him and like 15 billion other people.
100%.
But yeah, Dallas is just one of those shows that's like in the, what do we call it? Like the pop culture. Zeitgeist, yeah.
Back to Teresa. Remember how you had questions about the monuments? Like, what kind of monuments?
kind of monuments?
So we learned that
She had book clubs. She was Red Hat Society. She just constantly, socializing. The Harkeys were the somebodies in town. And, I know Bonnie enjoyed that.
she was also part of the Red Hat Society. What is that? What is that?
Let's Google it.
Okay.
It's probably just like they make
Here's hoping.
food for sexy, needy people.
Needy
Sexy people. The Red Hat Society, this is cute.
Okay, good. So it's okay. It's not bad.
We'll see. The Red Hat Society is a unique international play group for women that promotes our passion of fun, friendship, fitness, and freedom to express ourselves in positive ways, and a dedication to the fulfillment of lifelong dreams gained through the power of fun.
Okay, Bonnie.
High energy.
Yeah.
Join, connect, engage, and then play, they say on their website. Oh my God. Upon joining, you have to join.
Okay.
Upon joining the RHS, every member and queen is automatically included in our official worldwide RHS chapter. Everyone's a queen just for joining.
Oh my God. You know what they all are? Queens of the county. Queens of the county.
Oh no.
Oh no, what?
They just have one thing.
No. We were so close.
We were so close.
We were so close to joining a club right after we finished recording.
I shouldn't. This is a lesson when you keep scrolling.
I know.
Always keep scrolling.
What?
So it's like, why a play group for women and it says Red Hatters Matter? We're not doing that.
What does that mean?
They're trying to do like Black Lives Matter, but co-opt
No,
it.
no.
Why would it be Red Hatters Matter?
No.
Why a
Well-
play group for women? Because we find it's essential.
Where is
Okay.
she? All right. Well, I'm sorry, Red Hat Society. It's getting a garbage B.
You could have done.
You could have done so well. You could have done so well.
I don't know why you had to include Red Hatters Matter.
I know.
There's no need for that.
There's no need for that.
Well, it was fun while it lasted.
It was fun while it
What did we
lasted.
get? 42 seconds of fun? This is why we can't have nice things, everybody.
So we learn there are roughly 200 acres to the Harkey spread, like the Harkey estate, with valuable water rights along the San Saba River, a rambling farmhouse, and nearly 3,000 pecan trees. Like, this estate is worth a lot of money.
Right. So let's go back to 1963. This
Yeah.
is kind of a big deal. So
Bonnie met and married Riley Harkey. At the time, Riley was a recently divorced father with 2 boys. Bonnie, a single mom with a teenage daughter of her own.
It was a coup, It was a coup, especially for a single mother who was really looking at having to either find a husband or work for the rest of her life. In the early 60s, it was tough to be a divorcee. It was tough to be a single mother.
they were both divorced and Bonnie was a single mom. This was major news for 1963 Texas.
Teresa calls it a coup. It was a coup for a single mother to like find a rich, handsome man to like take her. Because Teresa goes, I mean, it was either she was going to have to get married or work for the rest of her life. I was like,
God.
Teresa, sweetheart.
Does anyone have a pecan farm I could just skedaddle right up to?
But I mean, like, it's important to note that Riley, the one who marries her and saves her from her womanhood, according to this document, has 2 sons. And so, like, the sons would obviously be the, quote, heirs to the pecan farm.
Yeah.
And that's going to get contentious down the road.
Right. So now, like, Bonnie is missing.
Yes.
And then yet another person who was listening to the police scanner calls 911 with a tip.
vital clue.
And she calls about Bonnie's adopted grandson, Carl Presley.
You know what? We can also just call him her grandson.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I was like, wait, adopted meaning like she just met him like a month ago and she took him in? No. Bonnie had a daughter who adopted this kid, Carl Presley, and so he then became Bonnie's grandson because that's how adoption works.
That's how adoption works.
And they just keep referring to him as the adopted grandson.
Because I think they want to say that, like, Bonnie was the only person who really cared about this kid.
Yes.
And people were, like, Teresa, the niece, says that Carl was always, like, needy and clingy, but no one wanted him to cling to them, which is
the most
sad.
fucking devastating thing. Like, it's a perpetuating cycle when you adopt a child from difficult circumstances. Now, I've got a lot of questions under which Carl was adopted. We are told that he was adopted from, quote, a homeless couple living in a car who were, quote, fine with him being adopted. They kidnapped this kid.
Yeah, they said they couldn't raise him, and then Bonnie's daughter, Connie, adopted or like took him and raised him. They say
show me the
him.
fucking paperwork because
I don't know.
This is all very fucking sketchy and weird to me. But and like he was a young kid. I don't think he was like a baby. I'm guessing he was somewhere between like 4 and 8 or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And he was probably now. I'm speaking from experience. I'm a foster parent, and I know these stories are true. Kids who come from circumstances like that can be difficult because life has been fucking hard for them and their kids. And so, like, we learn of this kid, Carl, that from the beginning, he was a super clingy and needed attention. And the adoptive parent didn't want to give it to him. They say nobody wanted him to cling to them.
Yeah.
This is so heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's really
I
sad.
cannot fathom it. Why would you adopt a kid from desperate circumstances if you weren't going to try to give them every single thing they need?
Yeah.
What is happening here?
And the thing is, you know who did? Bonnie.
Exactly.
Bonnie, the matriarch, did. Like, she did everything for Carl. She bought him everything. Like, even, we learned, like, even when Carl would fuck up, she'd always give him another chance.
Yes.
She'd buy Carl a truck, and he'd wreck the truck, and then she'd buy him another one. And he'd get a job, he'd lose a job. She'd house him. He was stealing pecans from the harvest and selling them. I mean, she was constantly bailing him out of one situation or another, you know, giving him money.
He would also steal the precious pecans.
Right.
And sell them on the black market or whatever because they're that valuable. I'm like, once again, when was the last time I used a pecan?
Yeah.
Or had any need for a pecan?
100%. But, you know, Teresa is telling us this about Carl and Bonnie as if to say, like, this fucking kid was so ungrateful. And, like, we hear some other really awful, garbagey things. Like, he was abusive to her, either verbally and or physically.
Yes.
No, I am not excusing any of that behavior, but this was a kid who came into your family in some weird way and was like a troubled fucking kid, and no one did anything to make him better.
Right.
It makes me furious.
Yeah, it's infuriating. And it's also infuriating that he would just lash out. Like, Teresa, the niece, is saying that Bonnie would have bruises on her arms, like someone was violently and forcefully grabbing her. Joshy is not happy.
No,
but
throw
Teresa's
this fucking
saying
guy in jail. Like, he's
like-
obviously garbage at 28 years old. He's a terrible person.
Yeah.
But, like, how did he get that
The
way?
circumstances of his life are just tragic all around.
Yeah.
So the tipster says, okay, here's what I have, because I've been listening on the police scanner, because it's better than Dallas and shooting JR or whatever. Who shot JR?
I don't remember. And then it was like, did anyone shoot JR? Because JR is alive in the beginning
Patrick
of the next
Duffy
season.
JR?
I think more not. I'm not sure.
I don't know either.
Me either.
Okay, well,
it's
moving
not
on.
the Golden Girls, so I'm not really.
Who cares?
I'm not that invested.
Who cares? Teresa, the niece, says,
I would not be surprised if Carl pushed her down the basement stairs.
Given that history, it was understandable then that investigators' ears perked up once they learned that the last person to have seen Bonnie Harkey the day she went missing was Carl Presley. According to the tipster, Carl was with his girlfriend, Lillian King. They were riding in her car.
Do you have any information on her vehicle?
All I know is she's driving a 2004 Mustang.
and she drives a 2004 Mustang. This is all coming from the tipster.
Yeah, and so now Joshy starts doing this other thing that makes me crazy, referring to all of the cops in Texas as lawmen. He says lawmen 800 times.
He's trying to do the Texas thing.
But, like, some of them are not men.
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know.
I don't like it, Joshy Banks.
I'd rather do Leo, like law enforcement officer. I'd rather do
great.
that.
We're doing that. But he says soon every lawman in Texas was on the lookout for that car.
Well, but now the cops are just texting Carl because that's how often he's in trouble. They can just text him.
And it's a small town and everybody knows him. And he's related to, like, the queen of the county, queen of the county. So, everyone knows him. And, you know, right after midnight, they say Carl responds.
He responds. He's like, hey, what's up?
Hey, what's going on?
What do you need? He's in Norman G, Texas. And they're like, okay, cool. So that's, he's at an RV campground. And he promises the cops he'll show up to the sheriff's office. And you know what? What a twist he does.
He does. I was shocked by that too.
And so, again, these law people.
They don't have the gizmos and gadgets of the big city cops.
Gizmos and gadgets aplenty. Who's it's and what's it's galore. So they have to improvise because they don't have gadgets and gizmos aplenty.
Well, the reason Joshy is telling us this is because now that Carl has shown up for his interrogation, they don't have like regular cameras, so they have to turn the cop dash cam on the guy for his interrogation.
Because they don't have a budget. That's what he's trying to say. Like, there's no budget for a camera.
So they have to use like the dash cam.
And they're outside.
They're outside, and he shows up in his Hamburglar costume.
Well, he's wearing...
He came dressed as the Hamburglar.
He's dressed as the Hamburglar, also known as a prison uniform or whatever, because his clothes were being tested.
Right.
So he just looks like, when you're watching this, he just looks like a criminal because he has like the black and white striped Hamburglar outfit on.
Yeah. And right away, there is something... So I couldn't tell if he was under the influence of something, but he's walking funny, and he's kind of like... It seems like you need to handle this interview with some kind of care.
Yeah.
Because he's either having a mental health moment or he's under the influence of... He just isn't sitting and talking like a person who is there voluntarily.
Right. Yet he showed up. Yeah. Well, and he also has 3 different stories. So his first story is Carl and Lillian, the girlfriend, went to his grandmother's house, Bonnie.
Yeah.
First, he couldn't remember anything else. Then he suddenly starts to remember.
He remembered how he took his grandmother out of the house to protect her from some tough guys he owed money to.
The story is he to protect his grandmother, he picks her up in the evening and drives her to Rainey's Crossing, and drops her off in the bushes.
An 85-year-old woman?
Correct, yeah.
So to protect her, he just dropped her off in a bunch of bushes.
Like I said, is there no Waffle House?
Like,
He
what?
took her, literally, Joshy is like, he took her to like bushes.
Yeah.
And was like, Grandma, get down and hide.
That's
Remember,
a lie.
this is a lie.
A lie.
But even if that, she's an old woman with dementia.
She has a caretaker.
Exactly.
So like that's...
And like, exactly.
Right? So they searched the location that he says he like left her in the bushes to protect her, and there's nothing.
To which I was thinking, in instances like these, it must be so annoying to be a cop because you know it's a lie, but you still have to go and fucking search.
Right. So his second story is that I missed my grandmother so much that I took her to my trailer in Normandy, which is where I just came from now. And Joshy's
oh my God, this is savage.
Joshy's like, yeah, right. He never missed anyone in his whole life. And I'm like, Josh, sometimes you get emotionally invested in the wrong places. He's so mad.
I know.
So they go up to where his trailer is, and they're looking for Bonnie. And I'm like, do they expect her to just be sitting there, just like in an old rocking chair in the woods, just like chilling?
But you kind of don't know. Like it could be that.
Yeah. And now story 3 is the truth.
And we see Carl telling the cops this story, like, at the location where this story happened on like a body cam. And so he tells the cop,
I told her I wanted to show her a fishing hole down by the creek, and we went down there and stuff happened.
Tell me what kind of stuff happened, Carl.
It's hard, sir.
That's gonna be her?
Right there.
Right there. All right, Carl. It's all right. Sorry. Whoa. All right, Carl. Me too.
What?
So we went down there and, quote, stuff happened. And the cops were like, but what stuff?
What stuff? And Carl's like, well, let me just take you there. And he takes them there, and like there Bonnie is. Like she's buried under sticks and leaves, and she's dead.
And you hear him going, I didn't mean to do it. Like
he starts crying.
Yeah.
And he's like, so he didn't mean to, but at the same time, he admits to pushing her into the water and holding her head under the water. Like, what the fuck,
Until
Carl?
she no longer moved.
Like, Carl.
I know.
Now, the girlfriend, Lillian, has the same exact story. She already told it to the cops.
Exactly.
She was a witness, and she stood by, and she let it happen.
And she was also there when the caretaker was killed, she tells the cops.
And, like, she says, look, I had to do anything he said. Carl could have killed me. He had 3 knives on him. I just did what he said.
I don't know about her. Like,
I don't know about her.
You know what I mean? Like she's here.
Joshy really doesn't know.
She's here for the interview. And the whole thing about this young woman is that she witnessed 2 murders. And like the thing about the grandmother is that like the murder started in one location and then moved 3 hours away and she was still alive. And this girl, like we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah.
She's a complicated character because she I believe her that she was abused by this man.
Yeah.
And she was afraid of him. And yet she still could have stopped one or both of these murders.
Right. And now the big question is like, wait, well, why would Carl do this? Bonnie gave him everything.
Right.
She was the only person who really cared about him, even when maybe people would say she was being an enabler by just giving him a new truck and giving him all this money. Like, no one could understand why Bonnie was giving him everything. So why would he want to hurt her in any way?
So now, to answer that question, we get the backstory of the decades-long Harkey family feud.
And it started the day Bonnie married her husband.
Yeah, so the husband, Riley, has 2 kids, Bruce and John. They're both pieces of shit.
Because remember, Bonnie and her husband were both divorced.
Right.
So they were coming in. This was their second marriage.
And this is where we encounter the thing that we encounter sometimes that makes me insane. When the children are spending the parents' money and it's not their money. When the the dad Riley obviously inherited this from like his ancestors, but he's doing the work. He's running the farm. He's making the money. It is his fucking money.
Yeah.
And all the kids starting in their teenage years, when this woman comes in, all they can think about is their inheritance. They don't care about taking over the farm.
No,
they don't care about working and keeping the family legacy
They just
strong.
want to do the fun stuff, which is spending the money.
Exactly.
And the thing that also makes me crazy is that like these 2 guys, Bruce and Johnny, they hated her. They hated Bonnie.
They didn't like her at all. And so almost from the beginning, it was acrimonious.
What form did that acrimony take?
Bruce and Johnny were just rude to Bonnie, openly insulting her.
And Riley put up with that?
Let it go. He just let it go.
And Riley, their dad and her husband, just let it happen. Like, he never tried to get them to be nice or just decent or respectful or not rude.
Which made me really try to understand the situation here, because Teresa was like, oh, it was so lucky for Bonnie that she, as a single mom, married into this rich family, and she got, like, it saved her, and she got to be a woman around town and be, like, live this fancy life. Riley, the dad, was obviously just looking for a person to come in and like make dinner and like run the family side. It was a business arrangement, it feels like.
Especially because Riley never accepted Connie, Bonnie's daughter.
Right.
So like he didn't give a shit. And like that's why he didn't tell his sons to be decent, because he didn't care about being a family and everyone being together. And like he agreed with them on some level.
Exactly.
So and Josh goes, it's more and more like the Ewings every day. And I'm like, what? And I was like, what are the captions? It's another reference to Dallas.
I know.
Who are the Ewings?
Josh, the Ewings. J.R. Ewing. That's the family.
Oh, I just knew him as JR. I just knew him in the context
you barely knew him at all.
I barely knew him at all. I just knew him I didn't know he showed his butt or anything. Did he show his butt?
I don't think he showed his butt, but it was just like Patrick Duffy taking a shower.
He went on to play the dad in Step by Step.
Correct. Right. I loved that show.
Yeah.
Joshy also says Riley, the dad, seems to have been better with pecans than with people.
They don't talk back, those pecans.
That's true.
You know what I mean? So John, piece of shit, son number 1, became a businessman or whatever.
Yeah.
Bruce had a lot of jobs.
At various times, he was a cop in Reno, a Medicaid fraud investigator for the Texas Attorney General's office, and a nursing home administrator. Along the way, he married and divorced 8, count 'em 8, women.
8, count 'em, 8 women.
Thanks, Joshy. So Riley is the husband, right? And they explain his will. So in his will, Bonnie could live on the property as long as she was alive. And I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
And when she died, the land would go to the boys.
Right.
And then there was like a little money left over for Connie, Bonnie's son, and Carl, the like, quote, adoptive, like the guy who was kind of a troublemaker.
Yes.
Who killed her.
Now, I want to say this is a perfectly reasonable arrangement. The woman that he was married to for 30-something years before he died gets to live on the property that's been in his family for generations until she dies. And then the sons will get the property.
Right. Like the majority of the inheritance goes to his sons.
They just need to fucking get a job and be patient. Like, because the sons don't want to work the land. They don't want to like keep the family farm going. Now, I'm not saying that they have to, but all they care about is the money.
Just hire someone to do it.
Right.
Like Bruce Oliver, local pecan merchant, who's here, who tells us that Bruce, this piece of shit, Bruce is one of the sons.
Yes.
He said he was the poorest millionaire in San Saba County. He had no income coming in, and every time he drove by that property, all he could see was the millions, what he thought was millions that he was missing out on.
He's missing out on millions because Bonnie is like taking up space on the land.
Literally, he says, doesn't have the decency to die.
Holy
is what
shit.
he actually says.
And now Bonnie, meanwhile, is just living her life. She's getting older. She's frail. She has dementia. They say that she's susceptible to phone scams. I was telling you about this.
I know. The fucking pieces of shit you have to be to run those phone scams.
My mom would sometimes my mom took care of my grandmother in her later years, and she would be there when my grandmother would get these phone calls, and they would speak to these older people different. Like they could look up and see how old she was.
Yeah.
She's 88, whatever.
My mom gave thousands of dollars to one of these scammers.
I mean, and my mom is like, you could hear them. They'd be like, oh, hi, hey,
Yes.
how are you? And
Yes.
they'd be extra, extra nice. And it's usually a woman to make it sound like, oh, I can trust this person.
Yep.
And it happens all the time. And they really prey on these people.
It's
I can't
terrible.
believe it.
My mom totally fell for one.
So did she ever, like, what happened with that?
The money just was gone. It was like almost $10,000. This was like 15 years ago.
God.
I know. But the money was just gone.
What did they tell her it was for?
Student loans.
Oh, fuck.
Which my mom went back to school when she was 50 to get her master's degree in divinity. And like, it was her dream come true and she did it. And so in addition to having to pay like $30,000 in student loans, she now lost $10,000.
She lost an extra. Oh, people are the worst.
I know.
So Bonnie's first caretaker was her daughter, Connie.
Right.
And Connie, we don't know how or what happened, but Connie dies in 2012.
To which I say, can we get, why are we going so fast? Because where's that 11-year-old boy? And oh my God, the fucking caretaker who was just murdered. Like, this is too much, you guys. Dateline, I know you do 90-minute episodes. Give us one of those.
Because here's why it's like, wait a second. So this whole story takes place in 2012.
Yeah.
Connie dies in 2012. Bruce, one of the sons who hates her, suggests that the deadbeat Carl should be the caretaker.
Right.
Did they do something to Connie to get one of these guys to be her caretaker?
Because that was the other thing. If Connie died, the money that was left to her went to Carl. So maybe.
Like, and a judge is like, no.
Yes.
Like, we're taking this out of the family. Someone else needs to be the caretaker. There's like a hearing about it.
Bonnie asked the judge if she could speak, and the judge said yes. And she said, I don't want them to be my guardians. I'm afraid of them.
Her stepsons.
Yeah.
That had to be about the last thing Bruce and John wanted to hear.
It delayed any inheritance, certainly.
So the judge says no to Carl, and Bruce and John, the idiot sons, are like, how about us? And they're like, no. The judge is like, have you heard a word I said? And also, like, please be nice to this woman. Can you imagine, like...
She's just an old woman, and I'm not being crass when I say this. Like, she's gonna die pretty soon, you guys. Like, can you just go be nice? Go sit with her. Maybe she'll give you some of the inheritance of if you desperately need it or whatever.
I'm just thinking, like, how helpless you must feel hearing this woman in a courtroom say, I'm scared of these people.
I know.
Please assign me somebody else. Like, what do you do with that information?
What you do is you find Betty Ann Johnson, who was appointed to be the caretaker of Bonnie, and Betty Ann then hires Karen Johnson, no relation, the woman, the caretaker who was murdered when the 11-year-old son called to say that he found his mom dead at the house.
Right, from the beginning.
Right.
The 911 call that started this whole thing.
This woman, Betty Ann Johnson, who was appointed, said that, like, the sons went to her and was like, we want to put Connie in a nursing home. And Betty Ann Johnson was like, absolutely fucking not.
No. There's also a financial advisor keeping an eye on Bonnie's money. So Bruce and John weren't in charge of anything, which is great news, right? And the finance guy is like, oh my God, Josh, I hated Bruce. He's a jerk. He calls him a solid jerk.
I know.
He was super greedy. Like, Bruce is all about money. He's screaming at our finance friend.
Right, because Bruce, who's one of the sons waiting for Connie to die, has an offer on the table to sell half their land to their neighbor, Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones for $500,000.
It's just like, Tommy Lee Jones, can you stay out of this for 5 seconds?
Like, not now, Tommy Lee Jones. Can everyone just relax? Everything's moving very fast.
Tommy Lee Jones wants to buy half the land for $500,000, and the way that deal was structured was only $50,000 of it was going to go to Bonnie, and the other $450,000 was going to go to these idiot asshole sons.
Right.
And the financial planner's like, no, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. Also,
get out of here, Tommy Lee Jones.
Please.
Like, for the love of God.
We don't have time for this right now. But I hope that Tommy Lee Jones movie, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. It's none of his business. But I just would wonder if he was just like, why only $50,000 to Bonnie? I know that's not how it works.
I gotta tell you, Tommy Lee Jones does not seem like the nicest guy in the world. He doesn't care.
He seems a little cranky.
He
just wants an enormous farm in town. Like, he just wants to be alone.
You know what he wants? A fucking backyard full of pecan trees.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
But also, what must it be like to live in this little, like, this town doesn't seem fancy.
It's probably one of his many homes.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's get real.
Oh my God.
It's Tommy Lee Jones.
Totally.
So the finance guy squashes the deal, and Bruce goes nuts. The finance guy goes, oh, that's sent him into orbit. He just became irate. He starts threatening our finance friend. And so now we just like shift gears, and we're back to Carl and Lillian because they're both in the county jail. Carl is the person who killed Bonnie.
And Carl is admitting that he killed his grandmother, the only person who ever loved him and took care of him.
Lily, the girlfriend, backs up the story.
Yep, and he tells us what happened. So remember, she was killed on a Sunday because it happened after church. The final decision to kill her was made Friday, 2 days before. And this is what Carl is telling the investigators. His uncle Bruce was broke. He couldn't wait any longer for his inheritance.
He sat me down on the bench and says, we gotta get rid of Bonnie. We gotta get rid of her quick. We're running out of money. Bruce says, I'll give you $500 if this happens right now, this weekend. If Bonnie dies. I said, you're broke, man. And I threw a number out there like $250.
So Bruce, the son, goes to Carl, the grandson, and says, I'll give you $500 to kill your grandma. Carl, the grandson, goes, oh, no. I know you're broke. Let me give you a deal on that. I'll do it for $250. They start to argue.
Bruce is like, no, not on my watch.
No.
Like how we do during the after parties. We were like, put that wallet away.
100%.
I'm paying for this round.
Yes.
That's about a human being
Bruce
committing
is
murder.
insisting on paying the full price of $500 to kill the grandmother.
After a bunch of haggling, they finally agree. Bruce will pay $100 up front and then $150 after Carl commits murder and kills the one person who tried to give him a good life and care about him.
And like to back this up, we see surveillance video of Bruce going to an ATM. He withdraws $200. A half hour later, he's in front of Carl's trailer giving him the money. And the thing that's so crazy about this is Bruce is using Carl because Carl, who the family never loved him, nobody wanted him to be latching onto them.
The cops are on texting grounds. Like they can text each other. He just is getting into trouble a lot. He's a perfect scapegoat for
all
this.
Carl wanted was for one of the uncles, anybody to like him. That's all he wanted. And Bruce knew that. Bruce used to like tell people how much he hated that Carl called him his uncle. But now he's going to him and he's being like, your uncle needs a favor.
Yeah, please. Come on, we're all family here.
Yeah, we're all family. Exactly.
Fuck it. So 2 days after Carl shows them Bonnie's body, Bruce is arrested and charged with murder.
Yeah.
Now, Bruce is very honest with the cops about a lot of things.
When lawmen came to question Bruce in jail, he did not mince words.
Bonnie was a poor, miserable wretch of a human being, okay? She didn't have to work and brain cells rub together anymore. I didn't go out there and say somebody needs to kill her. I said she needs to go. She just needs to go.
She was a miserable wretch of a woman.
Yep.
He is saying she needs to go. She needs to go. This is on camera during the first interrogation with the police.
Yes, and he throws Carl, the one he hired to do the murder, throws Carl right under the bus, saying, no. Carl had his own reasons for wanting Bonnie dead. And this is where we find out that Uncle Bruce took such advantage of this kid, Carl, because he got Carl to sell him his future shares in the estate at a huge fraction of what it was actually worth. He just takes advantage. The kid is desperate for money. He's probably got a piece of the estate that's worth, let's say, $200,000, and he gets it to sell him to him for like $25,000.
And so, like, Bruce is, talking to the cops, like, just talking shit about Carl and how stupid he is. He's like, would you really hire Forrest Gump to commit murder? He's trying to say, like, Carl is too much of an idiot to do this. I would never, ever do this.
But the thing is, when he got Carl to sell him the land, he only gave Carl a fraction of the money and said, I can't pay you the rest until Bonnie's dead.
Right.
Because that's when I'll get my inheritance. So Bruce is saying to the cops now, no. He had incentive to go kill her because he needed the money from me, which I'm only going to get when Bonnie dies.
And now Josh is here talking to this Bruce asshole.
Yes.
And Josh reminds Bruce that he was telling everyone who will listen.
How many times in your life did you say, you wished Bonnie Harkey were dead?
I don't know. Several?
I mean...
I can't give you a number.
That's one of the reasons you're in here.
I understand that. Okay.
Because you said you wished she were dead, and then later she became dead.
And then she became dead.
Josh, you got a real way with words, Mankiewicz.
So, but Josh is trying to say, you were running your mouth about this.
Yes.
And now something horrible happened to Bonnie. Forgive me for making a connection. And Bruce goes, Josh, no. It's not a crime to wish death on someone. I wish people dead all the time, he says.
I mean, it's true.
He's
you know
like,
what I mean?
I'm not just a magical being who could wish somebody dead and then poof, they die. And Josh is like, that's not what I'm saying, and you know it. Please don't twist my words
I'm
around.
Josh Mankiewicz. I understand that I am not Keith Morrison, but don't you dare. How very dare you.
How dare you. And then they just have
I will get Tommy Lee Jones in here in a heartbeat.
In a hot second.
Don't you dare.
He's got nothing to do. He didn't get that land.
I know.
But then Josh and Bruce just like have a staring contest, basically. Because he's like, I can't just wish people dead. And Josh is like, well.
But you did.
But you did.
But you did.
And then they just stare at each other.
So now we get to the trial, right? And we learn that Bruce was planting the seeds of an alibi for like a week before the murder.
He would walk up to just a random person on the street. Hey, I'm going away this weekend. Don't even try to get in touch with me. I'm not going to be around.
Hey, Tommy Lee Jones. I know we haven't seen each other since that time that deal fell through. But I'm letting you know that I'm out of town. I probably won't even be back.
Don't even look for me because I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be gone from Friday to Monday. Don't even think about it.
Late afternoon Monday, Tommy Lee Jones.
So don't even ask me to hang out. And I feel like everyone's like, wait, really? Can you not come back? We all hate you.
I know.
Are you really leaving? Like
I
forever?
know.
Forever, ever? That would be amazing.
And we learned that by the time of the trial that Carl had already confessed to his role in the murder of the grandmother and the caretaker. And the girlfriend, Lillian, also admitted to it too. So they're both going to testify against Bruce. It's not going good, Bruce.
And like in exchange for lighter sentences, but Carl killed 2 people.
Yes.
Like lighter sentences. He's a double murderer.
I know.
Like that really, like lighter sentences.
And which they don't get, by the way. So
they don't get it.
They don't get later sentences. But like this kid was taken from his parents at like 3 years old. I mean, like
who knows?
This guy's backstory is so tragic.
Yeah. And so Lillian tells us what happened.
Because we're going to finally learn what happened to the caretaker.
Right.
So Lillian is saying that like when the grandmother gets home, Carl texts Lillian to say, come distract the caretaker. So she goes to the front door.
So I rang the doorbell because the door was open, but the storm door was closed. Ms. Johnson came and answered the door. I was in the process of stepping in and closing the storm door when I see this flash.
Inside the house?
Coming from the den.
So coming up behind Ms. Johnson?
Yes. And I saw that it was Carl. And he was yelling at me to close the door, get in here, go in there with his grandmother.
In front of Lillian, but behind Karen, Carl shoots the caretaker.
Oh my God.
Like in the head.
Yeah.
And and that's why she was found dead in the doorway. So this is when Carl then walks the grandmother into her own bedroom, basically tells her that he's going to kill her by smothering her. She begs him to sit down and pray together. So she kneels to pray and he puts the pillow over her head. This is when Lillian tells us there's a dude, like somebody else rings the doorbell.
Yes, and like startles Carl.
And he gets scared and like doesn't go through with it. That person leaves. We never find out who that was. That person leaves. But he decides to get his grandmother in the van and drive the 3 hours to his trailer
RV.
park in Normandy. All the way, the grandmother must be knowing that she's going to die.
And all the way, Lillian is here as a witness, and Josh goes, how did you let that happen?
Yeah.
Like, and I know I'm not trying to like victim blame here.
Right.
I think that it was a bad, but Josh was trying to say to her, like, so you were there in the whole, the ride too? Like that 3 hour drive?
She's just saying like he had 3 knives. I had to do whatever he said. And like, we don't know. We weren't there. Like,
no.
I'm sure that he is absolutely terrifying. I don't know.
I don't know.
But Lillian, same question.
Like, I just don't know how we got here.
Yes.
It's just,
And,
but we don't know what we don't know.
What's
so
the reason for putting your grandmother and torturing her with the knowledge that she's going to be killed as soon as you get to wherever you're going?
Because like, I do think he's not good at this.
Yes. I mean, obviously.
And he wasn't doing it because he was doing it for money. It wasn't like a crime of passion. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I just think he didn't think it through, and it's a horrible, tragic thing. So Bruce's lawyer comes in and is like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
We're going to believe Carl, who changed his story a bunch before involving Bruce and this whole thing. Like, is Carl even credible?
But that's a fair question because they say that
he gave numerous different descriptions of what the events were, how he did it, why he did it. And it was...
and originally that he didn't do it.
Well, right. I didn't do it. I did do it. And if I did do it, it was because of this.
And finally, he names Bruce.
Exactly.
Sort of at the point where prosecutors and police are starting to talk about the death penalty.
Carl had 3 different stories. Mm-hmm. He only brought Bruce's name in when the cops started dangling the death penalty. So I don't know. And like, I got to tell you, Bruce is a piece of shit. But when we were like listening to his interrogation and his conversation with Josh, I was like, I don't know. The guy's making some points.
Yeah. He's also telling everyone that he hates Bonnie and she doesn't have the decency to die and he hates her.
He's trash and I want him to stay in jail for forever. But Bruce is the one that's saying like, why would I hire somebody to kill her when like her death is just around the corner? That's a horrible, crass, awful thing to say. And he very well could have done it.
Right.
But like, I understand why the lawyers don't necessarily think this is a slam dunk.
Well, here's another question for Bruce.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that other murder you were involved in, or attempted murder.
Yeah. One of his 8 ex-wives.
10 years earlier, he tried to kill, quote, one of his many ex-wives.
It was not successful, we should point out. That murder did not happen.
But like, the fact of the matter is that he's done this before.
Right.
And he was screaming all over town, and then he was trying to do this alibi. Like, come on.
And that's when his own attorney is like, yeah, that's really, really
That
bad
sucks.
evidence against us.
Yeah, no shit.
You know, because he's saying that, like, look, some of it was going well, it was looking good, but as soon as you put this information that he's done this before in front of a jury, forget it. Everything goes out the window.
It took the jury only 1 hour to reach a guilty verdict. Bruce Harkey received a life sentence, as did Carl Presley. Lillian King was sentenced to 45 years, for her role in the murders.
Bruce and Carl get life sentences.
Yeah, remember how Carl was supposed to get a lighter sentence for testifying? He did not.
Lillian, I don't know how that works. If you're testifying in exchange for a life sentence, I'm not defending any of these people. I'm really just asking about the logistics of it. If you testify in exchange for a lighter sentence and then the person that you testify against gets like the full life sentence, then doesn't that mean you did a good job?
Yes, I agree.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Lillian got 45 years for her part, and she's devastated about it.
And I don't know, Lillian. I really this was a 36-minute episode, so I can't really. We didn't get enough of any of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I have questions. I have questions.
Yeah, she just says I kick myself every day. She's she's crying to Joshy, and it's really upsetting.
And then it ends with us seeing that the Harkey Orchard, the thing that all of this murder and death was all about, just falls into disrepair.
Yep.
Nobody takes care of it.
Because Bonnie wasn't there to take care of it,
and no one's
Josh
living in
says.
that. But I'm like, wait a second. And this is not even
Tommy
a joke.
Lee Jones could have swept in.
But that's my question. Did nobody get any money in the end? Did nobody go to Tommy Lee Jones and say, you can have the land for $500,000?
Right.
And that's what makes me crazy the most is that nobody cared about the farm.
Nobody
it was
cared.
just about the money.
Yeah.
As soon as Bonnie died, the farm that's been in this family for 7 generations just dies.
It's just
and
done.
No one's living in the fancy house. What? Where's the other brother?
I don't know. Lots of questions.
He's at Tommy Lee Jones's house.
I mean one of his many.
Yeah. Oh, girl, we did Dateline, Queen of the County, Queen of the County. What's the next Dateline that we're doing?
It's Mystery in Mustang. It's a very, very classic old one that's been up-dated and re-aired a bunch.
Oh, wow.
And someone takes her top off in an investigation.
And it's not me.
She takes
Sorry,
her top
fam,
right off.
it's not me.
It's not me.
I wish it was.
It's not me.
All right, we love you. Stay tuned for the trailer for that. We love you.
Okay,
Stay
we love
tuned
you.
for the outtakes.
We'll see you later. Happy autumn, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
A fire chief murdered. His wife, the only witness. This detective knew them both.
She started telling me about a young man coming into their home and shooting Keith.
Her job now, solve this crime. And clue number 1 was a doozy.
She said that after he had shot Keith, he turned to her and said, I'm sorry, ma'am.
I'm sorry? A killer who apologized? And that was just the start. A gun stashed in a dryer. A man's glove, but whose DNA? A woman with a whole lot to reveal.
No, don't take it off. She tossed her top to me.
She just whipped it off?
I was shocked.